Welcome back. Time for us to go viral. Sponsored by TGI Fridays. Choose 2 meats plus 2 sides for only $14.99.
Oh, Toronto, come on, man. Slow your roll.
Check out Toronto fans taking to the streets last night to celebrate the Raptors' first ever win in the finals. They are here. They are dedicated. They are spirited. They are fierce. They are the Toronto fan base.
What is that?
I don't know.
Were you just possessed by something?
No, the video is going longer than the words, so I just added other words.
Oh, okay.
Toronto, I don't like this right here. I understand you didn't win nothing last night.
It's not the players celebrating. It's good, clean fun, man. Maybe some Molsons up there. Some mounted police watching, making sure it doesn't get out of hand.
Oh man, come on, you can't.
Maybe a little Labatt Blue.
Act like you've been there before. Oh well, they hadn't. Oh, so I can't.
They're not sure.
Exactly.
They're not sure.
We need 3 more
act
wins.
like you've been there
Jenna,
before.
Yep.
We need 3 more wins.
Who's we? How many teams you gonna rep? I've been rooting for the Lakers since 1980. Scott Perry and the Knicks.
There are 2 teams left. He's going with we.
Well, let me tell you something, Nick. Just because you were born last week, all right? I've got relationships, I got associations in this world, in the world of sports. And also, you're our partner. It's her and I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the Raptors. Her and I picked the Raptors. I talked her out of picking 6 games that they were going to win it in and said 7 games. You, of course, Nick wrong, picked the other team.
Okay, well, we'll see. We're 1 game in. We're 1 game in. We'll see. I just didn't know.
Did you take the Bucks to win it all, actually?
What? I did take the Bucks to win it all.
Time now for your AT&T wake-up call. Pascal Siakam was the start.
Y'all are unbelievable. I'm the only person on the show that ever makes a real prediction. So, of course, I'm the only one that could be wrong sometimes.
Siakam was the star for the Raptors in their Game 1 win. He led the way for Toronto with 32 points. See, how impressive was he?
Oh, so impressive, Jenna. But you called it, though. Isn't it nice to be right, Jenna? Isn't it nice on a Friday when you come in and been like, you know something? I predicted that yesterday. That's why people, thousands of them, watch that TV. So we might say something was correct. I felt so good. Now, Jenna personally told me on the side, Siakam was going to go for 20. Bro, you spend all your time watching the game. Jenna's reading up on it. Jenna thought that he was the wild card in the whole series. Now,
yeah, go ahead.
What do you want me to tell you?
No, something that's true. That's all I would ask. Pascal Siakam.
That you're 5'10" and you wear a toupee.
This is all going exactly the way I want it to go. So.
Yeah, America. Okay. I let it out on a Friday.
Tough news for the Warriors. Andre Iguodala seemed to injure his leg toward the end of the game. Iggy is staying positive, saying he will be fine. Nick, how big of a deal is this if Iggy is not fine?
It's a big deal now. Andre Iguodala might have used all the gas that was left in his tank against the Houston Rockets. And I know my pal Daryl Morey's got to be like, you got to be kidding me. Guy hits 5 threes in Game 6 to beat us. Hasn't hit a 3 since then. But if he can't go in Game 2, you're going to start Alfonso McKinney.
Yeah.
We're going to in an NBA Finals game. You're going to start Jordan Bell. You acquired him by giving the Chicago Bulls $3 million for the draft pick, and Alfonso McKinney, who paid
McKinney, besides his parents, the only person know about him is Nick Wright. You must have had him in some type of parlay or something.
Alfonso McKinney 3 years ago was playing in Luxembourg's secondary league, and 2 years ago paid $175 out of his own pocket to try out for the G League. He goes start a finals game, so yeah, they need Iggy to be healthy.
All right, finally, like CC and I predicted, and the way Nick did not predict, the Raptors took care of Game 1 last night, ripped that up. Despite the Warriors being big favorites going into the series, and despite them coming in as the 2-time defending champs, and despite this being the biggest stage Toronto has ever played on, Kawhi says he knew Golden State could be beaten.
We know that they're human. They're a great basketball team, talented players, high basketball IQ players. You just got to go out there and compete, take the challenge. We know they're going to make, big shots, go on runs, and it's about just keeping your composure and keep fighting through. Don't put your head down when, players, Steph or Clay make big threes. Just keep playing.
These guys.
See, was this game more about what the Raptors did well or what the Warriors struggled with last night in Game 1?
It's a combination of both, but you have to start with, because I was shocked in watching the game. The pregame, I was so excited. My wife cooked a big old meal and everything. And watching the pregame, because the Raptors, all this was new to them, how they were warming up, were guys comfortable with the crowd and everything, all the extras. But leading up to the game, I just got a funny suspicion. What is Nick Nurse going to do? And right before they announced the starting lineups, he said, we're going to attack them. We're going to get out on the fast break. I said, whoa, this is going to be a blowout. The Warriors going to run them out the arena. And right from the beginning, you could see the pace. And I was like, is that going to work? But then you could see Siakam has a huge advantage. And it put Golden State on their heels. So you have to start with Nick Nurse, the limited experience that he has. Franchise first game in the finals. The adjustments that he made. And then his superstar in Kawhi Leonard, knowing that they were trying to take the ball out of his hand after those first couple minutes, not forcing things, deferring to other people, passing the ball away, that they can get the offense started. Those were a couple of the keys. And Golden State. They talked about it after Danny Green said they looked a little rusty. The 9 days off, when you have the number of starters hurt that they have hurt, how hard can you practice? Like, we saw the film of Boogie Cousins. That wasn't real intense. But when you only have so many bodies, how intense could their preparation have been? And you could see that timing that they had in the Portland series and in that last game against Houston, they lost that leading up to game number 1, Nick.
This is to take nothing away from Toronto, who Pascal Siakam had the game of his life and one of the best finals debuts we've ever seen. You said it earlier, 35-5 in your debut of the finals. Here's the list of people. Michael Jordan, his first finals against Magic and the Lakers. Allen Iverson in his one and only finals. The step-over Ty Lue game against the only game that entire playoff run those Lakers lost. And then Pascal Siakam last night. With respect to Pascal Siakam, one of these players is not like the other. Michael, Iverson, Siakam. And for Michael and Iverson, that was as they were already established All-NBA MVPs that season, MVP caliber players of the league. So Siakam was great. The Raptors defense was what it's been all postseason. Brilliant. They won a game where Kawhi couldn't get off offensively, which, by the way, makes them 4-0 this postseason when Kawhi is held under 25 points, which shows the team effort. But the reason I'm going to say it's more about the Warriors losing it is because the Warriors did the one thing of either team in this game that's indefensible. They blew the effort stuff. And they screwed up the things that you cannot screw up when it's June or late May, about to be June. You cannot forget to get back in transition in the NBA Finals. You cannot allow fast break buckets after made baskets.
Yes.
Those are the types of errors, if we're being honest, that Golden State was used to taking advantage of in the first game of the NBA Finals when they were playing the Cavs. The Cavs, who did not have great defenses, did not come in ready for it, and all of a sudden it looked like the Warriors, who had maybe gotten a little rusty from the layoff and maybe a little confident of, well, you know, we'll be fine. We were down 17 in Game 2, Game 3, and Game 4 against Portland. Down at halftime in Game 2, Game 3, and Game 4 against Portland. And guess what? We won them all. We don't have to do all the little things. You've got to do all the little things. You have to give Toronto the respect you gave Houston, which they didn't seem to do last night.
Last night seemed to me, from a scouting standpoint, because typically, as you lead up to the game, the scouting department, the coaching staff, they give you a list of things that the players can do. So you can get locked in from an offensive standpoint, what a guy's weaknesses are, what his strengths are, and from a defensive standpoint. To me, the whole team of Toronto was locked into everything that the Warriors did. Like, they forced him. Steph hit some tough shots. Like, they didn't leave him open. Now, they fouled him a little too much. But as far as Clay, Draymond, and what they were trying to do, how are they going to defend them? To me, they seemed locked in to the game plan, and they weren't surprised. To me, the Warriors and Steve Kerr, with all the experience they have, all this playoff experience, they seemed a little more surprised. They were shocked that Toronto was running out on them. They were shocked that Kawhi was giving up the ball and becoming a distributor as far as the offense. So I expect them to make huge adjustments coming for Sunday's game, game number 2.
They took for granted a little bit that they'd been there before, they'd done this before, they know how to win, and then they were going to win. And I think the third quarter, when they thought they did it in the third quarter in a couple of games against Portland, they didn't know Pascal Siakam was going to go 6 for 6 and not relinquish the lead and not let up at all.
Which is why the Warriors also, and this is where Steve Kerr, who's if he never coaches another game, he's going to the Hall of Fame. He's an enormous part of this amazing dynasty the Warriors have built. Steve Kerr needed to adjust on the fly, given the moment. You can't go 8 consecutive game minutes, with either Clay or Steph on the bench, as they did at the end of the third to the beginning of the fourth. Because when Draymond's not hitting, when Draymond's not bringing the punch offensively he did against Portland,
yes.
when Iggy is clearly limited, not hitting his shots, when Kevin Durant's out, you can do that if you're in control of the game. But in a game that you had the lead once in the second quarter and it was by 2 points, you trailed at the end of 1, at the end of 2, at the end of 3, you need to say, you know what? Take advantage of these 9 days off. Our 2 guys are going to play heavier minutes than we expected, because stealing game 1 from Toronto can be an enormous moment in this series, as opposed to Toronto feeling, keep in mind, Toronto hasn't lost a game since game 2 against Milwaukee. They are feeling great about how they're playing and who they've beaten.
Boogie Cousins played last night. KD did not. Coming up, could losing game 1 accelerate KD's return? That's next on First Things First.